Welcome to the Elevate Media Podcast with your host, Chris Anderson. In this show, Chris and his guests will share their knowledge and experience on how to go from zero to successful entrepreneur. They have built their businesses from scratch and are now ready to give back to those who are just starting. Let's get ready to learn, grow, and elevate our businesses. And now, your host, Chris Anderson.
Welcome back to another recording of the Elevate Media Podcast. I'm Chris Anderson, your host. And today we're going to dive into another amazing journey of an entrepreneur who's in the real estate space, doing very, very well and sharing his knowledge on social media about it. And on top of that, sharing, the struggles, ups and downs, and how things can be difficult, but how we can work through those. So excited to have Ace Carimi on the show today. Ace, welcome to the Elevate Media Podcast, man.
Chris, thank you for having me. How are we doing today?
Hey, man, doing fantastic. Another day, right?
Another day, another dollar.
Yes, sir. So, man, I'm excited to dive into it. I'm curious, what got you into the real estate world in general, not alone, multi-family dwellings?
Great question. So I initially was an entrepreneur in the marketing space. I was doing social media for businesses, working on getting clients and building that business up. And this was about in 2017. It actually was tougher than it looked, especially being a new entrepreneur. You have a lot more hurdles than you normally expect. It was very difficult, but the cool thing is I was learning real estate on the side. I was learning about a thing called flipping houses and wholesaling houses. So I was studying up on that. I had a marketing background and I had a business partner, and me and him went together and we're like, hey, we can do this, right? This doesn't look that hard. We're seeing people do big checks. It can't be that, that impossible. Plus, we're driving around certain parts of our city here in the Northern Virginia and DC, Maryland area. And I'm seeing these bandit signs on the ground and I'm seeing signs that say, sell your house for cash. And I'm like, hey, does this really work? I'm sure you've seen it too. Like, does this really work? And then you go and look it up and you see all these stories on YouTube, people sharing, they making $30K, $20K, $15,000 checks, $50,000 checks. And it's like, man, just one of those checks could completely change my life. And so we actually got a deal from a bandit sign, interestingly enough. It was one of our larger flips that we did, and it was an amazing check. I got to help out a couple up in Washington, D.C. But yeah, that was our journey. We got into the real estate. At that time, we started flipping and wholesaling houses, which is a great entry point. And then from there, about 3.5 years in, we decided, hey, we want to take it to the next level. We got into commercial real estate because we said, hey, it's time to stop chasing and it's just time to start creating wealth.
Yeah, I love that. I think, creating wealth is such a crucial piece to a lot of our journeys that we're trying to do. And there's so many avenues to do that. And yours was the commercial real estate. Did you see any, big struggles within your area with, COVID and post-COVID with virtual work? Did that affect your commercial side of things, or was it kind of not really affected there?
So here's the crazy story about it, Chris. In 2020, when COVID hit, that was actually our entry point into commercial real estate. Right? Okay. Universe has a funny way of working out, and God has a mysterious way of doing things, right? Mm-hmm. And for us, I was doing a wholesaling and flipping business, right? I had an entire office space. I had personnel, and we had people on payroll. When COVID hit, and, I'm getting calls from our employees, parents, and they're saying, hey, it's very risky. There's a virus going on. Business is not that important. You get all this pressure put upon you, and you actually are forced to close your doors because now there's mandates from the government coming in. Mm-hmm. So now I'm like, wow, we have to adjust from a complete virtual environment to buy and sell real estate. And we actually did, right? We went completely virtual, ended up closing down an office space. And then about a month in, we're like, you know what? This could be an opportunity, right? Because I believe in opportunity. I believe every time some shift in the market, the economy, something happens, there is an opening that is created if the right entrepreneur can step up to the plate. So me and my partner got a chance to sit down and we're like, hey, what do we really want to do? How can we really get ahead and take advantage of this time? And then that's when we realized, hey, whoa, instead of doing this, which could get wiped out completely, why don't we get into the multifamily space and start looking for apartment complexes? And so after that discussion, we just went all in and we're like, you know what, this is what we're going to do now. And within about 90 days, we got our very first multifamily apartment complex here in my home state in Virginia.
That's awesome. Now, you mentioned right there, COVID hit, so you had to make some shifts, right? Adjustments that happens along the way. Why is that? Why is being able to pivot and shift so important for entrepreneurs as they're trying to grow a business?
You know, the environment is always moving. That's one of the variables you have to understand when you're an entrepreneur and business owner. It's never a fixed environment, right? What you enter in today could literally change tomorrow, next week, next month. So you have to move fast. And if you're nimble and you're able to make pivots and adjustments at the right moments, you can take advantage of it, right? These are actually moments to springboard upwards. And I noticed that firsthand. I'm like, hold on. The actual obstacle is not being nimble, being too rigid in your structures and thinking what worked in 2010 is going to work right now, right? We're in an ever-changing environment, especially with technology, where, man, it's not even the same it was 3 years ago as it is today. Every year there's massive change happening, and the only constant really is change.
Yeah, and how would you suggest people, or how would you guide people in making those pivots? Because there's always risks, there's always reward possibilities. So, if you're talking to an early entrepreneur, how do you guide them in making the best decision for them when they're maybe trying to pivot or change or adapt?
Well, number one, you want to take a step back and zoom out. That's always what I say. Normally, the biggest trap we entrepreneurs face is we're too much in a day-to-day of our own grind. We're deep into the forest, right? So you don't know which direction to go. Take a step back, and if anything, just zoom out like 30,000 square feet as if like you're a plane going over the field, and take a look. Where are you right now, right? You have to take a nice audit of where you are, and then take a look at your mission. What is really the end goal here? 5 to 7 years or 3 years? Just something where, there's a vision, there's a feeling behind it. Like, what is it that you really saw with this business and this opportunity when you first got into it? What's your vision, and what's your mission statement? So once you get that clear, then you work backwards and say, hey, look, what is a step that I could take right now with the opportunities and the variables in the environment that could help me accomplish to that vision in a lot quicker time using any changes that's happening right now. And you have to be willing to let go of the need to be right. Right? That's what holds us back. You think I made a decision a year ago and it's like, oh, I need to stick to this decision. No, can't move on to the next decision. Who cares? Right? It's not about being right and having your ego stroked. It's about doing what's right and taking the opportunity, because at the end of the day, if you don't, somebody else will.
Yeah, and I think that's a big lesson that I think we all have to learn at some point on the journey is get the ego out of the way. We don't have to be right. Just kind of take those chances. So, how did you have to learn, how to keep that ego in check or keep it maybe out of the way so you could become successful?
Here's the honesty, brother. I got beat the hell up in my first 18 months. I mean, I still get beat up today. It's not like a day where a week that goes by where you're not getting punched in the face a little bit, right? It's not a lot. And so, man, those first 18 months, I came in like this hotshot. I'll be honest. I came in thinking this is going to be easy. I have some sales background because I used to go door to door. That's my, I had some sales experience starting out. And I was like, this is going to be easy. I'm going to be signing up clients left and right for my marketing business. I'm going to take it to $1 million in like a year. If not sooner, I'm going to set the record. I had a big ego, brother. And, the universe humbles you. Like, he just smacks the hell out of you. And it's like, hey, you're not there yet. It's good to have a high self-belief. But I went through a lot of pain, brother, especially in my personal life, because I didn't realize how important having self-development was a part of being an entrepreneur. I had bad habits, I wasn't even waking up at the right time. I was going out and drinking, and even drinking at home by myself, I was smoking, and I even had a lot of cases with just smoking marijuana, out of it. And I just, I was all over the place. There was a lot of chaos. I'm over here trying to build a multi-million-dollar business, all of this, right? You literally seem silly thinking about this. You think you're invincible, and it's not until you actually get humbled, right? And you see the results, and you see, a declining bank account, and you see credit cards stacking up, and you're not in a good place internally, that it's like, hey, something needs to change, right? I have videos of me crying, like how painful it is. And being a complete downer. Like, this sucks, screw this, blah, 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 making up excuses. And it's like, because that's, your ego is being pushed down. And that pain allowed me to wake up, right? You have to feel that deep pain, because it's like, okay, at a certain point, what does it really take now? Now I'm open. What does it take?
Yeah. So did you have like that one defining moment that was a wake up call, or was it kind of just a compilation of everything that you're just eventually fed up with and you're like, hey, this got to change?
You love listening to podcasts, but have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Maybe you want to build a brand, grow your business, or are looking for an excuse to talk about your favorite hobby. Whatever your reason for making a podcast, Buzzsprout is the place to start. Since 2009, Buzzsprout has helped over 300,000 people launch their own podcasts. Buzzsprout walks you step by step through the whole process and will give you powerful tools to start, grow, and monetize your podcast. Ready to get started? Click the link in the show notes to get our free step-by-step guide to starting your podcast today.
Yeah, it's always an accumulation,
Mm-hmm.
It might be in a single moment of time, but even then you have to consistently program yourself to keep going, right? Even though you might springboard off that one moment, right? The pain is a gift. That's one of the things I realized, right? It's one of my motivating factors. It's one of my sources of fuel now. I remember the pain deeply still from 6 years ago, but even now, right? There's always going to be some pain involved. And I use it as a source of fuel to help me move forward and accomplish my goals. Because I'm like, you know what? We're all in pain to some degree, right? I'm going to use that pain to help, to provide a solution. Because once you can do that on a regular basis now as an entrepreneur as well, then you can create a really good business and really serve people.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I think, we all have pain and you're going to have it regardless. So how you can use that as fuel or as something that keeps you down, I think is a big driving force in success. And, what are some things that once you realize that you had that pain and you're like, okay, I got to get my ego out of the way and start to, take a different path. What are some things that you implement or you have implemented now in your life that you would say are a huge part of your growth and success and that'll continue to carry you on as you grow? Any habits or things like that?
Absolutely. 100%. Once you are right, your world will be right. You need to start every single day with a powerful intention. You got to wake up with a routine that is built for success, right? There are routines for success, habits for success. Waking up at a fairly early time. You might not be the earliest, you might not be able to wake up the earliest, but if you wake up very early, it'll help you get a strong start to your day. Hitting the gym, right? Journaling, writing down, reading something new, even a few pages. It doesn't have to be an entire book. Read a few pages, get a new idea. You need to be constantly soaking in new information. Then go into the gym, working out your body. There's a connection with the mind, body, and the spirit. And the weaker your body is, the weaker your mind usually will be. There's always a connection there. Then, once you finish the gym, self-grooming, taking care of yourself, right? This builds esteem. It builds self-confidence so that once you actually go at work, you've already done so many things that you've already stacked up these wins. When you stack up these wins, what do you think your confidence is going to be like? What do you think your energy is going to be like? Most of the time, people have stacked up no wins. So how are they going to go and win the rest of their day if they haven't won anything in the morning yet? That's how it works, right? You stack up all these wins, and then by the time you go to work, now you're stacking up even more wins. Every call that you make, every email that you send out, every client that you talk to, every problem that you put out is a win. So reframing in your perspective as well. Every day, if you stack up these wins for day after day after day after day, you're going to create immense momentum where things are just going to flow to you. And that's where you're just in the zone, right? You're just like Michael Jordan, just hitting every shot, right? You're unstoppable. To get to that point, it takes a lot of consistency and momentum and doing the things that you may not want to do on certain days, but doing them anyway, because that's what's going to create the ultimate success for you, because you're willing to put discipline over your feelings.
Yeah, that's huge. Putting your discipline over your feelings, because, you hear about motivation, but you got to get motivated. Motivation comes and goes. There are days that, I know Ace, you probably can attest to this as well, but I don't want to get up and do what I need to do. There's just days that I don't feel like doing it. But the discipline of knowing that I need to do it, I have to do it for that bigger reason, for that, where we want to head, makes those actions happen. So I think that's crucial, and a good reminder is, the discipline is more important than the motivation than the feelings, because feelings come and go, but that discipline is going to continue.
Chris,
yeah.
How do you push past that when you start feeling those, those feeling states? What's your process?
Yeah, just reminding myself, what I'm doing this all for. The bigger picture of elevating brand stories through video. Like if we don't show up as an organization, those people don't get the help. They're not getting their messages out there more clearly and at a high level on video. And so they're not able to help as many people. And so it's a ripple effect of negativity. So that's one way. And then the second is, I just look at my kids, and then I think about my team and their families. And if I don't show up, if I don't do the actions, even if I don't feel like doing them, this goes down. And then who's going to be take care of my kids? Who's going to be supporting those other families out there? And so just, again, kind of like you said, taking that 30,000 foot view of the bigger picture, and, reminds me, hey, this needs to be done like this. You got to do it no matter what.
Yeah. I like that. So why, and having kids is a powerful why, having a family, right? Because it goes outside of just you. We tend to be self-obsessed, I've noticed, especially here in the modern first world, right? We have first world problems. And, it does come with a slew of other situations you have to handle. And one of those is your esteem, you're focused on the self all the time. But if you're focused on yourself all the time, you're not thinking about anything else, how are you going to make any progress in business and life, right? The self-obsession needs to go, because the second you start thinking outside of yourself, then you want to serve some greater problem, somebody else, even just one person for a few minutes. You forget about your problems as much, you feel better, right? And you know that you're helping the world in a possible way, and then you will get paid for it over time, 100%. I definitely think that's how the law of compensation works. And so it's detaching from the self, looking outside of yourself. And even if you have to train yourself, right? What I recommend to anybody who's going through that, because it does add to the mental health dilemma going on in the world. And it's because of things like this. It's self-obsession, right? Go out of your way. Go to a senior care center. Help out and go volunteer, right? Go to some nonprofit for literally an hour and just help out and watch somebody who's less fortunate than you, and you will see. Go to a graveyard, right? If you haven't been, go, and it's a reminder, this life is limited. You're not going to be here for too much long, right? Look at the tombstone. It's a 1 year dash 1 year. That dash is your entire life. That's it. That's your entire life. And so these are reminders. It's not to put yourself into a fearful position. It's to remind yourself that, whoa, there's a way bigger things going on in the world.
Right.
And, you want to be a part of the solution and helping serve any way you can.
Absolutely. And, thinking back to, what we were talking about of getting the right habits in place and doing the right things to improve ourselves, to be able to then serve more, that doesn't always have to be all of a sudden you're getting up at 5 a.m. and you're working out. Take this, and because you talked about getting those wins, stacking those wins, and those wins can be a lot smaller, or it could be started in a different position. Your win could just be, getting to bed 5 minutes sooner. Start small if you have to, and build those wins, and then build those habits accordingly, and then you'll get to that position. Because a lot of people, I feel like, they're like, oh, someone said I need to get up at 5 a.m. And they're getting up at 8, 7, and 8 a.m. and they're trying to get up at 5 and they fail. And then it almost is a reverse. Instead of stacking wins, they're like, oh, I didn't do it today. Oh, I didn't do it today. And it just spirals down. It's making sure you're creating those small little wins to push you towards that ultimate, next level, whether it be 5 a.m. So get up early, get up, just start by getting up maybe 30 minutes early.
Too, Chris. I'm not, dude, I've struggled with this the most more than anybody, because I've always been a night out, right?
Right.
I've struggled more than anybody. I still struggle. I'm just going to be upfront about that, dude. I look at some people, I'm like, man, how do you even do that? You just wake up 5 a.m. like it's nothing,
Yeah.
Man, I fight that sometimes to this day. I'm not really a 5 a.m. person. I'll wake up a bit later, but that's what works for my schedule, right? So I'm not going to put myself into that box, because I don't believe everybody is a 5 a.m. guy.
Right.
Wake up relatively early, it's good. But I've made mistakes in everything. I've messed everything up. And then that's just how I've learned, right? I've done it wrong for so long and messed up and tried and failed and tried and failed that I'm like, man, I'm just numb to it now. I'm like, I can't fail anymore. Like I've seen it all, and I'm not afraid to fail anymore, man.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's the only way we can grow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always a good example for me, at least, is, working out and trying to get stronger. Like, your muscles theoretically fail if you're pushing them hard enough to the point of that's what causes the growth. Even if it's a micro fail of the fibers in the muscles, like, there's still somewhat of failing going on that causes them to grow back stronger. And so seeing it in a positive way, hey, and I forget who I heard say this, but it kind of in regards to sales and growing a business and things like that, they said, I expected to know, because if I had the expectation of, especially starting out in the new sales role, to get yeses every time, I was going to get so discouraged. I knew I had skill, I knew what I could do, but I just expected, most people were going to say no, and the more no's got me closer to the yes. And so I was excited, like, no, okay, one less no coming. Like, I'm getting one step closer to the yes, and just continue to hone your skills. I think that was a unique perspective and something I thought is good. Like, they weren't afraid of the no. They just knew it was part of the journey.
It is. The obstacle is the path. I think it's like a proverb thrown around nowadays. If your path is clear, you have no obstacles, that is not the path to be on.
Right.
Because that's not a path of a lot of honor and triumph and success of greatness. That's not a path to greatness. That's what it is.
Yeah. I just told somebody, path of mediocrity. I like that. And I was just telling someone the other day, like, if your journey is easy, if it feels like everything's going good, you might not be doing the right thing. Because when we're trying to grow constantly, when we're trying to put ourselves out there to help people, there's always going to be friction. It might not be some traumatic thing, but you're going to feel some sort of growth pains. You're going to feel some discomfort with it. But if you're on just an easy ride where everything's simple, comfortable, you might not be doing necessarily what you should be. There's something else out there you could be doing to improve your life, improve others' lives, and things like that.
Well, growth is painful, brother. I mean, even it sounds like you hit the gym. I hit the gym myself constantly, and it's not pleasant to go in there weeks every day and to go and put your body through this stressful resistance, right? But resistance builds strength. You need resistance in your life. How the hell else are you going to grow, right? If everything is just pushed to you and given to you at a silver platter, you haven't learned anything. You haven't done anything, right? If you're willing to eat as much pain, as much shit as possible, I don't know how to curse, but if you're
good.
Eat as much shit as possible, if you're like, dude, my bar is up here, I don't think anything can get to me. I'm going to put up as much shit as possible, eat as much crap, do as much crap without expecting anything at all in return, because I know I'm building myself up and I'm going to look completely stupid trying something new. And I don't care what anybody else thinks. And if you do that for a period of time long enough, you'll get anything that you want, 100%. Because the person is not afraid to be judged. The person is willing to eat crap for a long time and go through pain. The person who's willing to do it for an indefinite period and not have anything without any expectation in return. That's the person that's dangerous. And he will be a top 1%er and get everything that he wants, because that's what the 99% won't do.
Right. Yeah.
What they won't do, he will be what they will never be.
Absolutely. And it's almost because of like how people look at everything. Like, we look crazy. People would look at us, the normal average person, and say, that dude is crazy. Because as an entrepreneur, even if you're just someone who's, a bodybuilder, like, looking at them, like, people who aren't into that, they're like, those guys and girls are crazy. Like, because of all the voluntary stress that they're putting themselves through. And like, as an entrepreneur, like, if you want to be in the successful entrepreneur category, you got to be a little crazy in the world standards, because you're going up against companies that are bigger than you a lot of the times, that have been in the market a lot of the times. You have to, fight all the sort of economic positions in the world. Everything.
Dragons.
Yeah, like you got to do everything when you're beginning. You have to bootstrap, do everything yourself. Like it's crazy if you look from the outside perspective. And so like just thinking of it that way, like embrace that a little bit and be like, yeah, I'm a little crazy. I'm going to succeed at this. And that's, again, kind of with what you're saying, like if you want to be that top 1%, you've got to do what the rest won't. And a lot of that's longevity too, like just being consistent through all the crap. Like you mentioned, like sometimes that's all it takes is just more time. Because individually, we can only put in so many works, 24 hours is all we got. And you have to give some of that to yourself, to sleep, to eat, to take care of yourself. So like you only have so much time to work. Or you only have so much work to give, so much effort, energy. So now just extend the time frame of it until you're able to, replicate what you're doing through other people. Then you can extend like the work ceiling, but it's still length of time. I just learned that from a guy at an event I went to this weekend. Hard work times time equals success. So you got a limit on your work you can do. It's just natural. And then as you bring on people, and so time is the only thing you can really increase to give you success. So,
no, I love that. That's actually funny you mentioned that, Chris. I really appreciate you bringing that up because that time variable was something I didn't understand much myself. Luckily, I have a great business partner. He understands that very well, right? I'm more workhorse. He's a lot more like visionary mindset related and being very patient, incredibly patient is insane. But that time variable never really, I never understood it. I'm like, what is with this time thing, right? Because I always thought I could do something in 1, 2, 3 years, right? But if you think you can do something in 2 years, what could you really do in 10, right? Like Bill Gates said it. He's like, people overestimate what they could do in 1 year and they underestimate what they could do in 10, right? If you think you're going to hit the moon in 1 year, what could you do in 10 years? Like at that point, you're heading up every part of the galaxy, and you can actually do more in 10 than you can do in 1, right? There's a compounding effect as well. And the situation with the time thing, to me, it's like, man, I haven't really done anything outside of this real estate where I've actually put in 20,000, 30,000 hours, 10 years into, because that's where the most successful people in their industries, in their realms exist. They've been doing it for decades.
Right.
That is the variable. It's just they have that extra 7 years, which has an asymmetric return for them.
Yeah.
You haven't hit that asymmetric yield yet. So you need to be patient, like you're saying. Like that patience thing is nuts because time does have a compounding effect, but you need to be doing it for long enough. And if you just stop after a month, a year, or even 2, 3 years, you're not even seeing the trajectory, right?
Yeah.
You're only feet away from gold.
Yep.
You backed away way too soon.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the crucial part because, with us here at Elevate, we're 3 years in, almost 3, or we're like 2.5 years in, almost 3 years in. And like, I'm like super grateful for where we are. But then I take that, I'm like, we're only like 2.5 years 2.5 years in. Like, oh my gosh, like in 8 more years to think where we might be or where we're headed, like it's crazy. And I think a lot of the times, like in universe, whatever you call it, like I think regardless, I think if you're trying to succeed at something, there are things that come into your journey to almost say like, do you really want it? Like, do you really want to stick this out? So you get thrown these challenges, I think, to kind of test that.
Yeah.
Because like if it was easy, everyone would do it. So like weathering the storms and, climbing out of those valleys and everything like that, just, I think just part of it. So if you can get better at taking those on the chin and just saying, yeah, we just keep moving forward, we'll maybe shift over a little bit to avoid that one or get around it, but just continue on to the, that mountaintop. I think almost like paying your dues. I hate to say that, but like, it's just part of it. Like, it's not going to be easy journey.
No, and you know what? This time thing is a really interesting one. I like talking about it.
Yeah.
Time is really a competitive advantage. That's kind of what I'm noticing now. You might not be better than somebody. You might not be faster than them. You might not be smarter than them. But if you are willing to outlast somebody and just keep going and going and going and going and going and going, and you refuse to stop, you will beat that person one day. I'm very confident. The person who refuses to stop, who refuses to let rejection, failure, anything get in his way, and he just takes the next step day in and day out for year after year after year, for decades, that person will be the ultimate winner, 100%. That's literally an advantage that you can beat everyone else at. Because at some point, they will stop, they will quit, they'll be complacent, they'll be happy. And if you just keep going, you'll be that guy on the top of whatever industry, whatever realm you're trying to be on. Yeah. Time is the competitive advantage if you have nothing else. You just work and you put the time in longer than anybody else, you will be the most successful.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And then, as you get to those points, then you're able to expand and branch into different things because you have the means, the time, and the resources to do so. But until then, that's mine. Like I have so many goals and aspirations and dreams that I'm headed toward. Is like, but yeah, one bite at a time. Get this to a certain level, and then you have the means and the resources and people necessary to get the next thing going a lot faster. Then you can decrease the time because if you've built something successfully to that point, you've learned. You understand, and then you'll also have more resources, people, all that as well, which makes a big difference. So then the next thing you start, once that thing's successful, keeping it, selling it, whatever you do, you're going to shorten the time of being successful in the other thing because you've already built something huge, if that makes sense.
No, you're right. And that's what happens because you've built something now and it's easier because you've taken all that compressed time and you have a machine that works and, it's easy to leverage it, outsource, and delegate other things.
And I always think of celebrities, like, that's why my mind goes to like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Like now he has a TV show about his story and upbringing, like, and his dad, had to work and get into the ranks, which so you set him up for a decent position getting into wrestling, but he still had to pay his dues. He still had to go through ups and downs and see if he was actually going to be a success in that. And then he had to build a brand and a name for himself. And over decades and decades, then, he's built something successful. Yeah. And people know him and he's been able to get his name out there. Then when he starts anything else, TV shows, movies, tequila, whatever it is, it's a lot simpler because he's put in so much work in the back end that he can decrease the time of success on the next thing. That my mind always goes to them because they're in the public eye so much, and but they've all had to build up. They've all had to, build something to that point. So
you're right. It is building, man. There is no escaping the dues to be paid. There are no real shortcuts. Right. There really are not. You can get the shortcut for the blueprint and get a coach or mentor, which I 100% believe in. But there's no shortcutting the work. Nobody else will do the work for you unless, you are a rare unicorn and you're automatically good at hiring and delegating and telling people what to do. Even then, you still have to manage and overwatch the machine. And there's a lot involved. You have to be willing to roll your sleeves up, even if it's just for a period of time, and go all in. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the failure. Don't be afraid of being embarrassed. It's a lot of social judgment too that holds us back, And I can even attest to this in some regards because, man, like, I was socially conscious. I'm like, why do I care what other people think? And I think we all do. We generally all care about what others think of us, but like it shouldn't be to the point where it cripples us, paralyzes us from taking action and the actual consequences of that action. Right? If I fail, I'm just like, whatever. Right? Because then when you do succeed, then it's the opposite. Now they're all like, it's all fake love.
Yep.
So it goes both ways. Like you have to be independent of the social mechanisms that run us. You have to be willing to hack your own psychology a little bit and just be like, dude, I don't care. I really just don't care. I'm okay with myself. I'm cool in my own skin, and I don't want to look stupid. And you want to look stupid. You gotta be willing to be laughed at and embarrassed. I've been there many times. Trust me.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's funny. I heard a guy say this just not too long ago, and he said, I want you to like me. I want people to like me, but I don't need you to like me. Yeah. Like I'm cool. I know who I am. I don't need you to like me. I would love it if you like me, but if not, hey, it's okay. I don't need that. And I thought that was a profound statement, and it's so true. Like, we don't need everyone to like us. We don't need many people to like us. But if they do, great. But, you have to understand what our identity is and not accept those labels that are out there put on us sometimes.
No, you're in that. That's a complete fact, man. The social aspects of it, the personal, the esteem involved. Like one of my biggest problems, man, growing up is I had an identity issue. And I'm sure maybe others do, maybe others don't. I noticed some people had that figured out early on in their life. And, I journal pretty often now. And I noticed, I'm like, man, much of my life has just been figuring out who the hell I even am. But who am I? Yeah. What am I? What am I about? Who am I really? And it sounds like, I'm going too deep into the rabbit hole, but I've always wanted to know, I'm like, who is Ace? What is my identity? And, the great thing is you can create yourself in the world that we live in, right? It's not stuck to events and labels of the past, right? Oh, I went to this school. I studied this. This is my occupation. Like, sure, those are some things that you do in the support of who you are, but that's not who you really are. Yep. And understanding my own identity, who I really am at my core. Where is my true authenticity? What do I really like? What am I passionate about? What am I willing to do? Where does my focus go? And what are the things that make me me? And going deeper into that, because the more self-aware that you become, right? I'll say this for myself. The more self-aware I became of my imperfections, my faults, my strengths, the things I like, the things I'm really not that good at, the things I'm terrible at, the things, that are unique to me, the more I realize I'm like, hold on, this is actually a gift because I don't have to be good at everything. I'm actually bad at a lot of things. I'm bad at most things, I'm really great at a few things, and I have one or two things that make me unique. And if you just double down on things that you're really great at and unique and use those things to propel you forward while, still improving your weaknesses, but getting other people to help, complement those weaknesses. Now you become a power team, right? I like to talk about not just business, but life is a team sport. Life, everything, right? You need to have people around you who can complement you in the areas and your blind spots. Yep. You need to have people around you as a team, just like in an NBA team, there's 5 people. It's a 5v5 game. The point guard is not going to play the center position or the shooting guard, right? Yeah. Soccer, there's a forward, a goalkeeper, a midfield. Everybody has a position to play. Yep. And the reason all sports are like that for the most part, and even when it's like a game like golf, it's not one guy on there. He has a coach behind him, a staff. There's always a team or somebody behind a successful person. And in your own life, that I noticed that in my life, I'm like, wow, the more great people I get around me that I can help in their life and complement their weaknesses, they can complement mine, then we can all, work together as a unit because we all have weaknesses. I understand my weaknesses and I'm not afraid to say it. I struggle with consistency and I focus on improving that, right? I'm not organized like that. I'm not a great manager, a manager and operational person, but I love meeting people. I love talking to people. I love, solving problems and collaborating and working with others. And these are the things that I'm going to double down on. So I know I just said a lot there, but
yeah, that's awesome.
My self-awareness is just like, look, man, I'm just not good at that. Like, if somebody told me to do something I was just terrible at, I'm like, hey, I'll do it. If I'm the only person here, but I'm not going to do a great job at it. I'm going to do something else. I don't want to escape work, but I'm very self-aware now. I'm like, dude, here's where I can add maximum value and help out in a 10x manner versus just, trying to push this stone across a hard surface. And I'm like, it's really not the best way to go about it. I'd rather use cranes, machines, and use my brain. So one of the gifts that I was given.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was a lot, but right on. I think it's so crucial just to understand yourself in all aspects and the good, the bad, the ugly, and work it the best you can. So Ace, this has been fantastic. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Me too.
You gave a lot of great nuggets out there so people listening can take and start, making positive, change in their life, positive growth. So I appreciate you being on. Where can people connect with you at, find out more about you and see what you're doing?
Yeah. Thank you for having me on, Chris, by the way. Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram at ace.invest. I'm also on TikTok as well. at ace.invest. And those are my two primary pages. You can also, go to my website, theinvestcapital.com. That domain might change. But, my name is Ace Carimi. You can find me on social media. And just feel free to reach out, connect with me. Let me know if I can help you with understanding real estate, if there are deals that you want to partner on or learn more about. Or if you just want to connect and, hey, let's have a conversation. I'm cool with that too. Let's see how we can help each other grow and just be an asset to each other.
Awesome. Yeah. Ace, again, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening to the Elevate Media Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. See you in the next episode.